Because originally I think we said the 28th, but then I wasn't sure.
Yeah, he's okay with that.
20th of August. That's tentative. You just all have to agree on. I will not be able to make it. Amy's got the other alternative dates. She said second to the September 2nd, 5th,
Or
4th.
the 25th, 28th of August.
25th. Okay, we're live, and I'll call to order the Common Council of City of Lincoln. Pledge allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Father God, thank you for those committed elected officials that are here today. We appreciate their service, and as now we go in this meeting, that you may guide them through their decisions, that their decisions may be for the benefit of all the citizens of Huntingburg. These things who ask your son's name. Amen. Thing, we want a motion on approval of minutes.
Make that motion.
Second it. Got a first and second. All those in favor? Any opposed? All right, motion carries. Approval of claims. Make a motion to approve the claims.
Awesome.
A first and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. The first item up here is just the 2026 city budget meeting discussion. What we need to do that is set a date for that budget meeting. Obviously, we need to work through our current treasurer. So we're looking at dates between August 25th and August 28th. I think we originally talked about the 28th, if those don't work. Then we have 2nd through the 5th of September. We're looking at a meeting really from 9 to 1, 4-hour session.
We longer than that, I think. It's two,
What's that?
about 9 to 3, yeah.
Well, we got 2 1-hour sessions or 2 4-hour
No,
sessions.
you said 2 sessions, okay,
Yeah,
nine.
2 sessions. So we
Alright,
Yeah, 9 and then 1 at 1.
Yeah, there you
Yeah,
go.
there you go.
That makes sense.
So it's doing all the sessions in one day or splitting them up. I don't care how we do it.
I like the agenda he has, and like I mentioned, giving those 3 up top of the hour, because that was where we drug out last year.
Okay,
We have extra time than Tom, where you can fill in the just small stuff. When we get to the afternoon, we should be able to get through that, catch up.
yeah, I think last year we finished by about 12:15 with the morning session.
Is it August 29th an option?
No.
No. September 1st.
No.
Let's look ahead to the board.
How about September 5th?
How about August 25th?
It was the 25th.
It's a Monday.
August 25th.
I can't.
Well, are you gonna be in the air? Are you gonna be where you could zoom?
No, we get them on from 7 to.
About September 2nd.
I can do it till 3 o'clock.
Hopefully we're done with them.
September
What
2nd.
about the 3rd? Wednesday?
I have to see who's on, I gotta see who's gonna create. I don't know yet. Undecided on the 30th.
Should we could we
So the 3rd?
the second as our primary choice?
Second and third is not getting our
second?
primary.
I'm
And
sorry, repeat that.
you could probably make the motion to have a secondary meeting, a first meeting on the second. If not, the 3rd, depending on availability of all members, but I think we need to decide very quickly by beginning next week, I believe, because for advertisement reasons.
Is September 5th out?
Yes.
Yeah. So I'm all due for the 2nd or the 3rd, either one.
I can do both of those.
Just,
That's Friday.
Okay,
I can do the second.
we have Board of Public Works and some other meetings that are on before, so second and third are best choices.
Is it possible to zoom that? To participate that way?
Yeah, it has to be, I mean, it is a meeting of, council's public meeting, it has to be available. Let me see, I don't think, setting a budget, as long as it's not final adoption of a budget, I think you can.
Final adoption will
I don't know, you cannot just.
That's a later date though, I think.
That has to be adopted by October.
Well, these are just
Work
meetings considering budget planning, yeah, that can be done by electronic participation.
That might be really helpful if we choose the September 2nd date.
Put that down.
Probably should have a motion on that.
Yeah, if we're gonna do a first setting, then a second setting is an alternative.
Well,
September 2 is the first setting.
so we can't do, is the week of the 8th too late? I mean, is it better that we're all here in person?
Who's not here on the 2nd?
Seems like Jeff.
Oh, okay. What is too late? Is September 9th?
Well,
Has to be a doctor.
That's a council meeting.
The fourth was the last day he gave me.
yeah, then you get into,
I think.
It's Labor Day.
Oh.
Why you don't have anything to do that day?
Mark on here.
Why you don't have anything to do? I can do the second or the third, it doesn't matter to me. Glenn's probably saying,
I think like the 8th is too late this year. Okay, let's do the 2nd then.
it's gonna get very tight for him to get back to numbers that we do a week after that.
I'll make, doesn't matter to me.
I
Oh,
cannot
you
do
also
that.
be available.
I won't be available until, like I won't be available until probably 10:15.
So,
Well, I can see if I have an appointment, but I can try to.
Tom and I have to pull out for about 15 minutes for a bid opening for the water treatment plant on 26th.
Is that enough time to get it in the paper?
It's just an open door, no, it doesn't actually, it doesn't have to advertise, you just have to give notice. It's
48 hours.
Special meeting,
Not including weekends.
48 hours, because they're on holidays.
What's our general sense? We gotta go back to August 26th.
I can try to change my appointment. I'll do that.
I can do that.
26th.
I'm clear.
So the motion for the 26th.
Make a motion to make the budget hearing, budget discussion on 26th of August.
I'll say.
The first, second, all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries, or the meeting set.
Partially.
We have next request, this is considered an ordinance amending chapter 75, adding the parking restrictions of portions of certain designated streets. That's regarding Hunter's Crossing. We just took those streets in recently. It's time to put up the signs. The streets were actually designated by, at one time by the Board of Public Works, and its recommendation to stay with that plan, with the streets that are listed in the ordinance signs there. We did have reviewed that with both the police and the fire. Chief Hyman's even been down there in a fire truck, through the area. People are beginning to park on the wrong side, both sides, so we wanted to get the ordinance in place very quickly before habits start forming. And while you look at that, but it is consistent, I think, with everything we've done over the last 5 years at Hunter's Crossing, last 4 years.
Has the HOA there been consulted or has it been discussed?
We have met with them in the past. The ordinance, like I said, is consistent with the other streets. We haven't had anything official from them. One meeting they wanted. Some people want parking on both sides of the street, and another block they didn't want any parking. And a lot of it for various reasons I won't get into, but when met with one lady that was on the board of the HOA, she wanted to know why there wasn't parking. Both sides of their streets, while she's talking, she said that street over there shouldn't be allowed to have any parking. So it becomes a personal opinion, and we have I think the first thing, originally that street wasn't designated to have certain those signs. Then when streets where parking was added as an option. That time it goes back even when Scott was chief. And we took a lot of that from the chief, but also we have an SRO that's also working with transportation. With the school system, make sure we get buses through there. To make the U-turn, so the cul-de-sacs, there is no parking, so they can properly make a turn in those cul-de-sacs. That HOA wasn't happy by that either, so.
Well, I was here when they came to the council many years ago and asked for us to grant them I think it was called a variance fill, that instead of the normal width of a street, they wanted to narrow them. And at that time, it was presented to us that there would be no parking on the street, that everybody had 2-car garage and there was parking in the driveway. And as it turns out, there were several residents, after we approved that to go with the narrower streets, there are several residents that claim that they were never told there would be no street parking. And some people had 5 cars, 6 cars. And so it was brought back to us, and it's kind of unrealistic to think that you can't park on the street ever, because people have that many cars. They got,
Well,
kids.
You're gonna have parties. You're gonna have people over to your house, and if you only have, those houses also don't have basements, so a lot of residents utilize the garage like basement. So they're parking their cars, and then if you have any kids at all or any visitors.
Yeah.
And it also stinks for the people who their side of the street is no parking, because then they have to park on their neighbor's side of the street, which is a lose-lose for both the neighbor and, I mean,
Also, it wasn't done.
Yeah.
no.
It wasn't.
So my comment is really, I think, yeah, we have to approve this, but in the future, I'll plant my flag right now and say that I would never approve those narrow streets again. Because of the problem that you talked about, that it puts now everybody on the block, both sides park on one side, and those people are not happy about having trucks and cars sit in front of their house all the time. And so going forward, when we have an opportunity to consider that type of decision again, I think we should be mindful of how we did it. I'm guilty as charged, but how we did it previously, and really think that through before we.
Well, there's driveway restrictions too, so you can't make a lot of those driveways wider because of setbacks and some other issues. People don't use their garage for cars too much. I put one in my 2-car garage. And I think most of you are probably that same way, so. Yeah, I would totally agree. I think as on the Board of Public Works, when that first became an issue the first time, and I remember that. I will tell you this with residents that I talked to last summer. I had 2 ladies on one street. We're talking about the parking. And one lady said it isn't fair that you put it on one side and not the other. I said, well, what's unfair about it? She goes, well, I don't want people parking in front of my house. The other lady says, I don't want to have to park across the street. So, it was, I said, so I just introduced themselves to each other and we went from there, but so you do, what's fair and what's unfair. It's a bad situation. I think this is the best solution. It's gonna beat the death. I think it changed back and forth several times. But it does allow for, and really we're looking at bus pass or emergency vehicle pass, how they would get in there and move around. And that's really where the sides will determine was by that, not personal preferences of living there, unfortunately. Because they also would like to see a fire truck arrive if they had fire tubes.
Well, I think the conversation needs to come down for Hunter's Crossing Pass coming off of Progress Parkway right through here. I know this, I think there's signs on one, but there's nothing here yet, so I think we haven't done anything here yet about parking on one side or the other. And I think that's to be looked at. Street coming right off Progress Way, coming down to Hunter's Crossing Pass, because that's where the main, one of the main ways to get in. I was out there earlier, I don't know, was it 6 months ago?
No parking signs?
Yeah, because I don't think we even talked about that late. We just accepted.
I think you're right.
We have
Got that far.
It's made of the lane.
Hunter's Crossing Pass.
It's in the book, it's no parking.
on both sides?
I think on both sides.
I think
Okay,
the
that'd be
reason-
great, because that's what I've talked to people before, because that's the main interest coming in there.
Yeah, it's no bother both sides. It should be close.
I think we did that intentionally for construction. trucks.
Right.
You're saying there's.
I'd be glad to.
No parking both sides.
On that area right there, yep.
That's the only street that's no parking both sides.
Okay. I'll need to go back and take the signs of there. That was well back then.
Hunter's Crossing pass from Stellar Way to Providence Parkway, which is now Veterans Parkway. No parking anytime both sides.
Okay, good.
I mean,
It should be posted.
That's fine.
I'll take care of that.
That's double check.
Yeah. Oh, I know they're
But I'm
parking, they're parking on the other side.
it needs to be posted if nothing else.
Very well.
Now, my question is. Do we want to consider that at some time? Is it's wider than the other streets? We allow parking on one side of the other streets, that's probably what.
I think we need to set some vehicles there and go out and sample with fire trucks and stuff coming off that. Like I said, that's a main
You have to have a long setback.
area to come in
You
off of
probably
it.
As
Pass that first driveway, we can start.
a resident that lives in a subdivision that doesn't allow parking on the street. I get it, but I mean, that's sort of. But we should,
What you brought in.
I bought, that's why, I knew that, I bought in, I knew that when I bought it, and that's how it was set up.
I subdivision only the section street I live in.
Yeah.
On one side, the rest of the subdivision doesn't.
We do have to
They
allow,
are wider, mine's very.
yeah,
So we can vote on one, it says,
Yeah, I need to introduce.
once I know, just,
2025-17.
the motion to introduce, motion to introduce.
I'll second it.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. 2025-17's been introduced.
If you choose, you can suspend the rules and consider them the same meeting as introduced.
I suggest we suspend the rules and release same night.
Second.
We got a first and a second to suspend the rules. All those in favor? Any opposed? Any approval?
Now you need to motion to adopt.
We got to adopt.
Motion to adopt.
I'll say.
Got a first and a second. All those in favor? Any against? Motion carries.
Kissling.
Aye.
Bounds.
Aye.
McFerrin.
Aye.
Bolte.
Hi.
Ware.
Aye.
5 ayes.
Thank you, guys. Coincidentally, I do want to introduce, as you know, city has long been a financial supporter on an annual basis to Du Bois Strong. I've asked Colton to do a quick run through of exactly what we get for money, but what Du Bois Strong is looking to in the future, and really, I look at next year as a very strong year. A lot of things going on. Where some of that money's gonna actually start getting invested in some strategic plans and some areas around childcare and all those things that Colton wants to address those. Coincidentally, the reason I said coincidentally is because Colton is a recent new move in to Hunter's Crossing. He would have been there about 3 months now.
Not so longer, but yeah.
Okay. So what he is happy about.
It's on my side of the street, and I was like,
Let's talk about your utility.
lose, yes, utilities are phenomenal here.
Kid with a competitor down south, so.
Yeah, no, great community partners down south, like up here, but yeah, the rates are much better.
Good.
But yeah, recent resident, Hunting's Crossing, so proud citizen of Huntingburg now, but get to represent the whole county, so I appreciate Mayor letting me speak, and I'll be as brief or as long-winded as you want me to be, but nice presentation, small screen, I didn't realize how sensitive the TVs were here, so next time we'll make sure to set that up, so I'll send this out to all of you after this, that way you have it, but we'll run through it a little bit. Really just kind of wanted to give an update on the framework and the mindset of where we're at and where we're going and then what we've been doing and kind of just showcasing some of that stuff. So economic development overall as a whole really centers around jobs to the way we're looking at it. Because jobs produce income that generates housing that provides the market for retail, which creates taxes, to fund education, and provide the workforce to fill those jobs. It's this whole cyclical kind of trickle down effect there. And that'll be kind of a recurring theme, because not every time we can do something that directly doesn't cause an effect and a direct impact, but we need to affect this cycle. So Du Bois County as a whole, there's little check marks that pop up over those words there. So we have great jobs, we have great employers, we have good workforce partners. We outpace the county on income across the state of Indiana. We're a little above the average income through the state. When we start thinking of ways we can affect positive change, housing is a big one for us. We'll get into this a little bit later, but we know from our housing study, Huntingburg needs 480 new units of housing by 2035. And we're going to continuously start to update and report back on some of those numbers here in the near future. But we need to continue to make progress in that, to give people housing options, give them opportunities, give them work job options to grow and prosper here. Retail follows rooftops. That's a big, easy one. There's a reason why the TJ Maxx and the Starbucks are on the north side of Jasper, because all the housing's on the north side of Jasper. As we grow and expand, hopefully more retail grows and expands with us. That market kind of provides itself a little bit there. I will not get into taxes. I'll leave that up to you for taxing. And we have great education partners, 4 school corporations, obviously Southbridge High School doing great things here, great community partners with that. And that's really what drives our workforce to fill those jobs and get kind of in that cradle to career continuum. How do we showcase the opportunities we have here in the county? How do we showcase that to students? How can we tell them that you can make a great life, great living here, fill those jobs, and kind of complete that cycle? But we do this through 4 focus areas. Hopefully these aren't new to you, but business retention, expansion, and attraction. A fancy way of saying, go talk to businesses, see what's working well, see where we can improve, see how we can help support, but also attract, kind of create that competitive economy. Talent attraction and retention, housing, childcare, the important key factors people look at for talent attraction. Quality of place, that's kind of its own separate category. Market Street Park is a great example. 4th Street, great example. How do we provide those 9 to 5 opportunities, or 5 to 9 opportunities? 9 to 5 is important, but how do we provide that 5 to 9 and fill that gap there? And then infrastructure enhancements. So we'll kind of touch on all of these too. But we do this through a 4P matrix. So when we have an option to affect real positive change, is it a program where it's long-term, sustainable? We run it out of our office. Is it a project where it's one and done? Do we do multiple projects to turn into a program? Is it a policy where we need to go either here, the state, the federal level, and start to rewrite and change policies? Or is it partnerships where it's not ours to own, but we want to say yes and support that and be partners in there? So program, projects, policies, partnerships, and then I sneak a 5th in here. I should probably just add it to 5P, but prioritization is huge. What's the most impactful? What should we focus on first? So kind of just a recap for 2025. Specifically 26 business retention expansion visits. I don't have the number that I've done in Huntingburg that met with Farbest just a few weeks ago, for example, where it's really a fancy way to say, I'm meeting with C-suite executives to figure out, right, what's going well, how can we affect change, what are your biggest struggles, how can we help kind of pick those pieces together on a local level, but also on a broader regional, statewide, and national level. What are the key trends that I do for my 8 to 5 that maybe we can implement here? And from that, across the county, there's 2 expansion projects that resulted from those visits. One's in kind of a planning stage and one's actively looking to purchase land right now. So as we start to think about that, how do we grow and expand businesses? Not only just our large businesses, but also how do we bring a supplier and from a Ford F-150 to a box truck to a semi truck, right? How do we move that progression forward? So really excited to see 2 projects come out of those visits. And then site selection is another big piece of what we do here. How do we drive those businesses to the right areas with the right population, with the right people? There's 2 big ways that these come through to us. One is from the state of Indiana. Essentially a company or a site selection consultant can go to the state and say, we need this much land or this many square feet, this much power, this much water, and we see if we can provide it. Those we compete with 92 counties across the state of Indiana and however many counties and whatever other states that choose. Those are super competitive. The other side of this is there's been 4 prospective companies that have reached out directly to us that want to locate in our area, primarily final assembly and distribution centers. And then we're in the process of making marketing updates. As we go through and start to try and sell this area, From a population and quality of life standpoint, we also have to sell the land that they sit on, the power availability, and things like that. So this map is, I know it's really far away, but there's not a lot of detail. You probably know where it's at because you live here. But a site selector from Cleveland, Chicago, Austin, Texas, right, doesn't know what this is, doesn't know what they're looking at. When we get into something like this that pops a little bit more, we've identified a substation, water, gas, wastewater hookups, major state roads, state highway or federal highways. You can see a water tower. We've labeled who your neighbors are, so you can call that company and say, "Hey, how's Du Bois Strong? How's the area? How's the workforce?" And those things start to really matter, affect real change. Another big thing we did. This is a lot of data when you look at it, but
I've seen it on big screen, you can't read it there either.
yeah, it's real small. But essentially we took, if you're familiar with NIST codes, they go from 2 digits to 6 digits. The more digits you add, the more specific you get. So, for example, 337 is furniture and related product manufacturing. If we were to add 3371, it might be wood product. And then if we add another digit, it might be household wood product manufacturing, right? So they get more specific. We kept it at 3 digits to kind of get a broad base. So it's just some examples like food manufacturing, specialty trade contractors, wood product manufacturing, plastics and rubber products manufacturing, just to kind of give some examples of what those sizes are. Those industries that are above 400 employees, that's what's on this list here. And then we took annual payroll, job growth over the 5 years, the percent change, and then average weekly wages, and something called location quotient, which is essentially a location quotient of 1, or an LQ of 1 is you could throw it on a map in the US and you're basically on par even with the rest of the US. But take furniture and related product manufacturing, we're 95.5 times more specialized in our area than anywhere else in the US in that area. So the higher LQ you have, the more kind of specialized you are. What this really is there's 4 key areas being the industries, their current employment as of 2022, which is the most recent data that the census has, unless they've updated it recently. The 5-year change in employment and the location quotient, we've taken that and put it into a matrix. So when I send this out again, right, you'll have 4 quadrants. Mature on the top left are companies that have figured out how to deliver their product at the best rates for them, at the highest profitability, probably a lot of automation, have been around for a while, really refine that process. The bottom left are companies and kind of lagging behind in terms of job growth and pay, average pay. Top right are our stars, so our companies that have high job growth and high specialization in our county. Furniture manufacturing is 95.5 way up here, right, and has some job growth. And then the companies at the bottom right are emerging. So we're not fully specialized yet, but we've seen some job growth and we're starting to get close. So when we really do this, again, it'll make a lot more sense once you see it up close. We really focus in on a few different industries here. Merchant wholesalers, durable goods, transportation equipment manufacturing, food manufacturing, specialty trade contractors, and professional scientific and technical services. So it really is just a fancy way to say we're using a lot of data-driven processes to figure out what businesses we should go and attract and market ourselves to, what would help our industry clusters, what would help our industries here grow, what's complementary. As we get into talent attraction and retention, the big thing that happened a few years ago was the Du Bois County Housing Study. And I'm excited to say we've taken it off the shelf and I've read it and looked at it and are excited to start to implement some of the suggestions here. So as a county, find ways to share risk, increase variety of housing options, secure and conserve existing housing, and leverage existing lots and add new lots. And one big suggestion was zoning for housing opportunity, specifically for Huntingburg's piece of it. And the Huntingburg strategy was to review zoning codes. And we want to do this on a broader level. The objective was avoiding making viable housing non-conforming, which is a really fancy way to say we have a lot of old lots when things were first plotted down where maybe it was a shotgun house. And now with our modern day setbacks and codes, we can't necessarily build on that. So now we just have an empty lot, doing nothing, but collecting very minimal taxes. So something that's really taken off here recently, in partnership with ROI Regional Group, we're part of out of Bloomington, incremental development, incremental codes. Essentially, it's a way to use those underutilized lots. So it's small scale developments on those lots. It's less strain on public infrastructure because you don't have to run water, sewer, power out to a subdivision. Usually it's right there and hooked up and you can just tap into it. And it shares risk because the end goal is to have some pre-approved plans, maybe 30 to 50 pre-approved plans that we would come here, get approved here, and then anybody in the community could go and say, I have a vacant lot and I want to build this house. They don't have the risk of architecture, engineering, they don't have all those big things. We'll of course sit down and work out drainage. But a lot of that risk is eliminated from the start and you don't have those upfront soft costs. And what this really looks like is, if you look here, this gold house, maybe that's your house and you're tired of mowing that backyard, it's doing nothing for you. But our current zoning codes might not allow for 2 dwelling units behind you that you can rent out. So you could take this pattern book and say, I want to build this. It's pre-approved, the plan works, our zoning code allows it, there's space, there's things that fit and conform. And then you can go have more housing that's missing, that missing middle housing at a lower cost, and it provides income for our residents here. So a little bit different spin on housing that I think I've previously seen. Moving into childcare, we're proud partners with the Community Foundation. They're guided by a strategic plan with their goals of supporting the early childhood education workforce, strengthening community awareness and collaboration, improving quality, and increasing capacity. This is I believe we're up to 9 members coalition that's really just trying to drive childcare forward and do more actionable results from it. And we're proud to be strong supporters with that actually. Recently $30,000 in grants, somewhat recently 10,000 with the Southridge Little Raiders to expand some of their classroom materials and offerings. And then as part of a greater regional approach to it, there'll be a Smart Start coordinator that will service child care needs and meetings and drive that forward for Du Bois County, Orange, and Crawford County. So they kind of broke it into separate regions, again, through a partnership with ROI out of Bloomington. And then you might recall a few years back, we did a town attraction with Radius Indiana, a regional partner out of Bedford, to attract and give a stipend with Make My Move remote workers, but also with our employers. So I just want to give a quick update on that. 36 total movers since the summer of 2021 when this program started. And there's 2 ways that people come to be movers. The first, we had 18 join the workforce here. So that's current employers in our county paying a percentage of this $5,000 stipend, and then Radius covering the other percentage of it. The employee gets it, they work and live here with a 2-year commitment, some other perks and benefits. And then we had 18 come through the remote work program, which is you have a remote job, you retain that remote job, but move here. So your income, your discretionary spending, ideally somebody from California, New York, high cost of living, where their salary is a lot higher and their dollar goes a lot further here. But what that really resulted in was 100 total new residents when you start adding their spouses and children and others that move along with them.
And Radius was nice enough last year and I believe this year too, to bring those residents on a evening to the Du Bois County Bombers game. They bring them into the communities, other communities, introduce them to the restaurants and businesses in that area. So they're very active, run a great program.
Yeah, at a minimum, they do a quarterly event. So somebody might move and choose to live in Orange County, but they'll do the quarterly event at the Bombers game, and different things like that. So really kind of try to integrate them into the greater region as well. But the economic impact of those 100 new residents, 36 movers, total new annual economic impact, $2,345,536 annually. That's things like City of Jasper food and beverage tax, that's property taxes, that's wheel tax, that's car registration, 7% sales tax at the Walmart, right? All these things start to add up. For state and local annual new state and local taxes, about $280,000, a little over that from those residents that move here. But it also generated 13.7 jobs just by a metric they use because people need baristas, people need, people to teach their children, things like that. And the average income of those 36 movers when they signed their contract, so this might have been something in 2021. But the average income is $94,291 of those 36 movers. So hopefully they're doing well and excelling in their jobs and getting their raises. But that's not where we're at with that program. So really successful program, and we're looking to continue that partnership as well with Radius. I'll go a little quicker here. Quality of place. There was a 2019 quality of life and workforce attraction plan. Gave us a big metric to matrix to go through and prioritize them. There's talks of updating this, and last time when there was an update, there was funding that followed it. So we started to go through and say, okay, what's been done? What can we prioritize? What might be most important? And start to do some of those, like Market Street Parks on here as one example. We cross that off, but what's the next step to that? And then as we get into infrastructure, obviously Vince States Quarter is probably the largest economic development project that the county's seen in quite some time. And also for us, and one of the project goals, secondary support economic development in Southern Indiana. There's a meeting Thursday afternoon, City of Jasper. They have a Zoom link. I highly encourage you to join that, at least join the Zoom link there. So I won't touch too much on it. And I know I spoke with you all. Median household income in cities with similar roadway, all trending upwards. Poverty status trending down for those communities, and then unemployment rates are trending down for those communities that have a similar roadway type. Kokomo, Dale, and Martinsville. And really the end goal, right, is it's hard to project out exactly what it'll do. So I just pulled two examples of Martinsville starting to see housing development around I-69. I've talked to the Economic Development Corporation of Morgan County. They had great things to say about it. A lot of housing, a lot of parks coming on along with that. And then up in Kokomo, Stellantis or Chrysler keeps their manufacturing that's pretty strong up there as well, because of the logistical advantages and other factors up there as well. So we can sit here and debate a lot of those factors, but we hope that economic development comes along afterwards, and that's really the big key goal there. As companies continue to find efficiencies in their processes, those efficiencies will be implemented regardless of our community feelings. And we have to make sure that we get those community feelings and opportunities relevant, because our companies here operate on a global scale, and we have to make sure we give them global opportunities here. So that's Du Bois Strong as an overview. I put a kind of a little budget here on what we go through. A lot of it's just personnel costs just to exist, truthfully. And then we have lease professional costs, things like that, but just be a little more transparent, I think, what you're seeing. Requesting the same amount as we've had since 2005, so no increase to it. It's an odd number, I don't recall off the top of my head. I cheated it to the notes in here, but happy to answer any questions through that.
One thing I'd like to say with Colton, when we prior to bringing Colton on last year, I was on the board and in that interview process brought that forward. We saw a lot of projects with Du Bois Strong was claiming credit for that. Really, we did a housing study. Well, no, they didn't do a housing study. Somebody else did it. We signed off on, but really put legs to the things that are there. Some of those things, Colton's looking at now, sort of our zoning and policies regarding home construction. What are the best practices in the county? How can we all learn from each other's best practices? Taking the metrics of the housing study, putting forward, putting somebody on the child care committee and actually working together too on when we talk about development and training of the workforce. There'll be somebody in your office here pretty soon that you'll work side by side with that'll help with a lot of the industry and overseeing further development of workers there. So there's a lot of things I think actively they're doing. It's not putting together a study or a program, putting it on a shelf, but taking off what's already there on the shelf and put it back to work. And Colton's done a great job of that. That's all I'll say here. He's very in tune to the employer needs. If you Tim might have seen it, but the building out that's been vacant for quite some time, Colton's got involved with the new owners there, been in communication. If you've not been there, the building's been painted, it looks great. They're cleaning up the area off West First Street. just around the corner from you. Off Sycamore, back behind you a little bit, but,
Oh. Say what it is, oh gosh.
it's kind of been an ugly building for a number of years. It really has, by their day, was Charlie.
Yeah, they, you know, those are little things that matter to the community, don't matter to the price per square foot. Honestly, maybe $1 more, but that's not changing any performance for anybody, so we're excited to be able to work with that group and kind of drive some of that forward. Yes, obviously they want to market it, make it look nice, but you can do it to the inside, just like the outside. So we're excited to see that, and I appreciate that, Mayor, because a lot of it, been here almost a year now, and a lot of it's been positioning of DuBois Strong, where do we affect real change? How do we do it? What's the metric? What's the framework? Where can we pick up all those pieces and really move forward, and what do we own? So we're excited to start with housing and do those pieces, but also, you know, following up with the next project for town attraction and marketing. How do we really start to drive business growth, but also population growth and bigger things as well?
Do you know where our unemployment rate is at?
2.3% for the county. It's about 750 people, I think, over the age of 16.
How do you come up with the 480 by 25 or 35?
That's based on the housing study. I always laugh and chuckle and say it's the four Coltons of BC, but a lot of times those housing studies are just based on projected population growth through just various models.
Yeah, they met with 6 different groups. They looked at not-for-profits, small business, large business, realtors, employees. So maybe an employee at OFS or Barbas said, I live outside the county, but if they had this type of housing available, I would move here. It's also based on job growth of what price of the income of those people that for those 800 some open positions in the county right now. What those positions would pay, what type of house that person would be looking at. Are they looking to start their own, one of the age groups? So there were surveys given out to the employers and employees, as well as realtors, builders, and everything else that came up with that market value. I think there were 140 of those were considered mid-level rentals, apartments, which, you know, Poplar Ridge would be about 126 of that 140 some. There's I think 45 that they're in the 400 to 800,000 range. Everything else falls in between.
Yeah, the housing study, which I can send you like the specific section, will kind of break out the average income bands and then how many houses of right deficit or surplus what we need. Because what we'll see a lot of times is just a lot of housing constraints and upward and downward pressure, because if I make $30,000, I'm gonna be in this house price point as a mortgage underwriter. But hopefully maybe I upgrade and get promoted and I have a $50,000 job. I might qualify for a house payment higher, but I'm staying in that house now because there's no option available. Same likewise, if somebody makes $1 million a year, they might buy a $250,000 house, which takes away, quote unquote, that from somebody making, you know, $50,000 a year. They're not qualified. Don't quote me on those numbers, but we get that upward and downward pressure. It really just compresses the market. But there's, as a county, there's 6,000 people that file taxes outside of this county, but they're employers in this county. So as we start pulling metrics like that and we start thinking employment growth, those people might look to move here and work here, instead of going somewhere that maybe they've historically lived, or a lower cost of living, or families close by, whatever it is, a lot of factors. But
It's a large file that you can find it online to look at, but one of those, we can't email it, so you put it in Dropbox or something. But one of the factors that I was looking at, we've looked at kind of keen on are what housing do we have that's subpar that needs to go away and be replaced with new. So that's in that 400. That's also replacement of existing housing.
and some of that zoning code too will help with some enforcement and code violations, things like that, can help to a certain degree to kind of move that in the right direction of, you know, it might not just be a piece of land that you tired of mowing and would rather build a house on it and create income. It could be, you know, a regional land bank play, is something we're looking at with some of our partners to the north, have a regional land bank Maybe we join that where they can acquire the property, build a house, keep costs low, minimize risk, develop it, and go. So scraping the surface here, so again, happy to answer some questions or meet afterwards too, but a lot of variables with it all.
Thank you.
Thank you, Cole. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely.
City attorney, I have another Snyder, another treasurer, Amy.
Yep.
Nope, nothing there. Any citizens or council items today?
I have one, I drove up Walnut Street a while ago. Paved. Looking really good, it's not done yet. But it's coming along really nice.
All the equipment's there waiting for about 2 hours for the asphalt to arrive this morning, so.
Yeah, they're not done yet, but it's good.
Well, I think there's about 3 or 4 places in town that were in the next couple of weeks should be
Yeah.
tuned back up and opened up where they're
Yeah.
paved again.
Yeah, you'll see, grinding done over on Jackson. Finish, dethatching, dethatching some Second Street, some of the others, so they'll be out moving around here. And everywhere, Clay Street is probably the furthest behind, I saw this morning, on the dethatching, the lines were replaced. They're working on that, though, they'll continue working on that till they finish.
Any update on First Street?
Notice of acceptance of award, was signed today. So our, 20th is our pre-construction meeting, it's 20th. Actually, clock started as soon as I signed it today, so.
Right.
It'll move forward. They've already done, mailing, the previous contractor has done the saw cutting and gotten it prepared, so. It should go pretty quickly once they move in. There were some things that were, still under the old contract, they didn't finish, that's done now.
Okay, good. It's probably
Hopefully
the
they-
priority for most people in town.
Yeah. Yeah, we'll do that. School started, we were trying to put some safety stuff out there, the police as well as ours, but it's also a sign that we have Malia back in our meetings now.
Yeah,
As part of the mayor chief council, and I don't know if you have any input or anything you want to say today.
not much. We will have our club fair the 22nd of this month, so then meetings will start right after that.
22nd.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear, what was it on the 22nd?
Our club fair. So then right after that, our club will start.
The kids.
What time is that club fair?
It should be like 10:40 to like 11:25.
Junk care.
That's inside of the cafeteria area?
I haven't heard yet, either the gym or the cafeteria.
Okay. I'll try to be there. There last year and I didn't have it on the calendar, sure. Sent you an email today, so. All right, anything else?
Can we, Tom, give us the budget proposals as soon as possible?
We were still needing 4 more, which I got the last one, I think this morning. Once he gets that, he needs to start plugging his numbers in.
But be nice to have those done the day before.
Thank you. Please, look at it.
Other than that,
Work very well. We're good to print out.
can, yeah. Yes,
Citizen item.
I was gonna make one for adjourn, get things.
I'm gonna continue to come before you all until we get this problem solved according. Right now, we haven't really seen very much progress. Even though at this point, it's supposed to be having daily fines. And so we've seen very little movement and more so not in the areas where it needs to be. So not addressing actually where the offense is.
I will say we've had some progress in some other areas, but not in your neighborhood. But that is, best way to put it right now is being as per.
Yeah.
Per our ordinance, so.
Well, I mean, this is a 13-year problem. And when I thought that it was going to be resolved, I backed away, didn't say anything. Now I'm learning that I need to make sure of the present system to make sure that it continues to move forward and that it gets fixed. And one of the other areas too is when is it we're going to start addressing other areas? Like we have a property across the street that is no one's living in. And it's in disrepair and probably needs to be put on the list also, the people don't live around here. But maybe, you know, we're talking about housing too. How many houses do we have here that are abandoned houses that really need to be torn down? Or addressed to bring back up to code so someone they can sell and move into it. So that's not my next area is that, you know, looking at other properties too, like a shed that is total disrepair that's falling over that needs to be taken down for safety concerns. That we really need to start keep moving forward. And as we're seeing the progress, I've been very happy because I also see the county's addressing it also. So I think we've backed off in our community too much. Now we need to really move forward and make our community even better. So I will continue coming to the meetings until we get progress, until I can see some major changes happening.
Yeah, we've been traveling extensively, I say we, and that's Chief Hine and Mr. Lake, myself, looking at actually walking through talking to neighbors, finding out what properties are vacant. You know, I believe personally we need a registration system, but also how those vacant properties should be treated. One of those are that we have people that from out of state or out of county that owns those. They need to have a local presence, and that local presence. And my thoughts is that if they can't inspect that property on a weekly basis, they need to let it go. Somebody that can, but they need to move forward. So we're looking at several options. Some stuff we'll have to run by Phil here pretty soon, but I think we have some other stuff to run by him. But we'll say that there are some homes. There've been a couple businesses that we have taken some action on. We had a lot of dumpsters on the southeast corner of the city a few months ago, being loaded up with some hoarding there. Took about 5 dumpsters out of one house. It was a mess. So we are escalating the situation that you're referring to next to you and taking further action there. And it's not been promising on our end. I will say that Chief Hine and Mr. Lake have been on the property, taking pictures several times, offering other assistance, and it's not been. We haven't had the progress that we need to, so we've taken it to the next level.
And I would, you know, as a neighbor, it is hard on our side because, and that's where we really rely upon you as our representatives to really push it forward, because it becomes very contentious when you're living beside someone. Like there is no speaking terms, there's just bad communication. It should never have gotten to that point where it was up to us. It should really be upon our city to be able to enforce those codes to make sure. So we really do rely upon you, because as neighbors, we want to be able to be good neighbors and have good communication without being the one who says this is not okay. So thank you.
Should be. If I can ask, what does it mean that we're taking it to the next level? I mean, when can we expect that a fine?
I'll refer to our attorney on that one.
So, about a little bit more than a month ago, notice the violation was sent. So the ordinance to your property you're referring about to, they're given 30 days to come bring the property to compliance. They didn't bring it to compliance within 30 days. And last week they were issued a citation for ordinance violation and a $50 fine, and notice that each additional day that it continues will be a $100 fine. They wrote the property owners a letter and gave them to the 19th to give me a timetable for coming into compliance. They've got specific instructions as to what they have to do to come into compliance. Within 14 days, and that 14 days would be on 19. I drafted a complaint to file in court for injunctive relief, permanent injunction, and for a couple of fines, $500 a day. So that will be the next step. Suit will be filed if there's not compliance by the 19th.
Is that on the one property?
The one problem. Yeah, that's the only enforcement. That's the only notice of violation I've got to pursue.
The other 2 properties in question, we're ready to move on to get an opportunity on this one. So just one at a time, because they had 3 properties, so we moved simultaneously and the others down since they did fall through. So,
Wow, it's good. I'm just curious. Is that those actions? Is that as aggressive as the law allows?
In my view, yes, it is.
Yeah. Okay.
Does it ever come to a point where the city cleans it up themselves? Is that allowed to be done?
You can, but then you risk the problem with taking property out just for compensation, you know. What appears to be junk or trash to us,
Yeah.
may not be to them. Okay. We don't wanna make those calls, we want the landowner to make the call, and clean up the property, bring it into compliance. We've got specific instructions as to how to bring it into compliance, very detailed. They've got all that information, as to what is expected. But they have not complied to this point, and we will push it, with the next step is a lawsuit at circuit court. Complaints are in the draft.
What is the?
And then what happens after the lawsuit?
Well, then they'll be forced to appear here, to determine whether or not they're in violation. And if they're in violation, we'll ask the judge to enforce the $100 penalty, your judgment against the offending party. And we'll also ask the court for an injunctive order directing them to bring the property in compliance with our instructions. And if they don't, then they're in contempt of court, and they'll suffer not only our fines, they'll suffer fines, civil fines by the court for being in contempt and possibly in prison, direct contempt of court order.
And then if they don't pay those fines, we'll eventually have a
Get a
lien
judgment,
on
get a
them.
judgment
Yeah.
lien against against the owners and the property. Which we can foreclose.
Is there was a limit? Did we have a limit
I
on
think
that?
it's, I think the last 75.
So what
And the
happens if they
joke-
pay the 7,500 and they're still not
The
compliant?
courts can go up.
The courts did it, yeah, the court can go above that, they can fine civil fines for contempt of court, unlimited dollars. I should say unlimited.
They never got charged. What is, I'm sorry, what is the situation on the weed lanes, things like that? Once they're cleaned up, how often does that cycle start over?
What's that?
We got property where it's not mowed, and then the city has mowed the property, and then what is the cycle for that? The city mows the property, and then is it 30 days later before we mow it again, or how does that
I'm
work?
not sure what the cycle is, but once the city mows the property, our treasurer's office sends an invoice.
Referring to Washington Street.
Plus a $50 administrative fee. It's not paid within 30 days, 30 days. Then I'm given notice that it hasn't been paid, and I prepare a weed lien that is recorded at the auditor's office courthouse. It then becomes a special assessment against the property. It's added to the property taxes. Property is then taxes aren't paid, it goes to tax sale. So the property on Washington Street is up for tax sale this fall, I believe.
Okay.
September.
And realize that probably if whoever purchases it, it'll be 11 months before they do.
But it's not mowed now, that was done.
A lot of times, what we may see is that property is so heavily leaned with our liens, because we have a demolition lien on it. We also have the green liens on it. Nobody will bid on it.
It exceeds the value of the property.
Nobody will bid on it. It becomes a commissioner's, they call it commissioner's deed, I think, or certificate. And the county commissioners can offer it to the municipality on whatever terms we can come to agreement on. And the last time that happened, they offered to us for free. We took the property, cleaned it up, and even sold it to Habitat.
There is provision now with land banks, you can do regional land banks now, and that's what we've had discussion in. Because the land bank, basically, if the county agrees to it, the county elected officials law would have voted and agreed to be a member of that land bank could become owners of that property. So that law changed just a few years ago, that's what Martin County had involved in. At the time, Du Bois County had no interest in being involved, so. Didn't end up.
A question.
Although I'm kind of pushing for it, so. If you.
Yeah, I've had some conversations about it.
Bill, have we given tax abatements for some of these corporates and big apartments? We write a tax abatement for a single family dwelling to tear down a house.
Yeah, that you don't, for residential abatement, there's limits on what you can do, it has to be, for developments that, predominantly for low and moderate income housing. I mean, but it has to be for more than just one house, it has to be a development.
So that's not gonna solve a problem with one property that's been neglected today. Somebody tears that down and builds a nice property to get a bait.
Yeah, I don't think it can work that way, but.
In fact, it's something Colton said earlier about identifying these properties and making it easy for a person to buy the property and build a pre-approved house plan on it.
Yeah.
That's
it's
an
all
intriguing
stuff.
idea. It's something I think we need to.
Yeah,
Kind of
with-
talking about.
with the land bank, I'll run up here. Like the mayor said, the land bank can acquire it through various processes, and then there's funds available, tear it down, and then I think they're selling properties up Washington, Martin County right now for $7,500 for the property. And then they can go put a pre-approved lot on it, pre-approved plan. You don't have all that engineering design fees that are tacked onto it. So hopefully that house price point can go down. Partnering with nonprofits, maybe it's an arm of Du Bois Strong at one point where we built houses, right? There's a lot of options to go there. Or maybe the land bank built the house itself. It's a lot of options that can drive housing costs down.
There's a local community outside of our county that during 2010-11 acquired about 35 properties that were vacant for some time, and they're filling those through private, not-for-profit. I know Truck Ab's doing some, Kirstein's have done some, and they have set plans that they're putting on their lots throughout that.
They've already been approved to fit the setbacks.
Yeah,
and
there's
it's what
It's
side
like
size.
there and everything's there, they're just popping on there, so.
And this would encourage
This is
local.
Boonville did it
Yeah.
several years ago too,
Yeah.
in about 2015, right there.
And it would encourage somebody that might want to pay all the liens and fines of local to acquire it, not have it, sell it or rent it in a local. Said that too, so. For as much as, sorry, government and government adjacent entities don't have to be involved, if a private citizen can buy it and build it, and we can make that process easy. That's been a pretty proven model for a lot of other areas too.
And they're doing, some of those are HUD funded properties where they'll take a market $200,000 house, sell for 150. That covers the 50 grand for them, and 150 they reinvest in the next house until they just keep doing that until they run out of money.
Yeah.
It's another way. It's called a home program, but it allows you to build some houses that are 200,000 in that range, which is a basic house now. Yeah.
Is there a way we can get that fancy new software that we have for our code enforcement department and click a button or something and increase the amount of information that we're allowed to see when it gets posted to the Board of Public Works meetings? But it's for our view, the new software, we're paying a lot more money for it, is not better. What we can see is way worse than what we used to be able to see. And it really kind of cuts us out of that whole process, unlike where it was just before that new software came out. But
I know I said I'd look at that last month, I'll definitely look at it. We are getting a lot more. The thing that it doesn't tell, sometimes progress, and that has been an issue in the past where we say, we send notice to this house in 14 days, we got a council member call them, what did you do today, what you do today, which we spent so much time answering emails and that we didn't do anything today because we were answering your requests. So we gotta be a little bit careful. We had 70 notices sent out last month. What I like to see is that the percent of leads was actually down as percent of calls. It wasn't like it was 50 weed notices and 20 junkie homes. It was, I think they were around 22, 23 weed notices, 70 high grass notices. We've had some, we're having more conversations with groups and engaging them more than just sending a letter. I've talked to some owners too and called some people. I'm not mentioning businesses by names. There's been more, I know Chief Hine down on those two where they had the dumpsters, he was there observing them. taking stuff out, what you're taking, doing. Giving them very good direction, what they should remove from there. Same thing with your area, it's a very detailed letter. It's about 4 pages long, I think, or more, of the specific things, so he's been very good about that. He takes it serious because he doesn't want to send firefighters on these properties. And, you know, that's where, I think he's been very detailed with everything, and been very happy with a lot of the results, but he also looks for resources. People need it, they're senior or somebody doesn't have resources. And, when he had his, Catholic group that was here last month, he sent them out and they went to a lot of these homes and helped, people take care of issues. Some of them didn't want them, some did.
He actually takes pictures and gives written information in there. So there's 2 different ways to look at it, but he does a really good job with this report.
It's pretty detailed. And it just seems like, you know, you need to come up with another one. And really, it comes down to bad landlords. I agree. And we need to, my opinion, make it harder for the bad landlords to survive, and make it easier for the good landlords to prosper. You know, through our own procedures and that we have to do, but some of that, hopefully it'll be something in the future there too. I do want a rental registration policy and certain standards that renters have to maintain.
I support that 100%. I think that's well past due, overdue.
Aye.
Yeah, yeah.
Let's do it.
I mean, I think that we need to get that enough to be on the agenda for the next meeting. That's something that we're serious, like there's too many landlords that are taking advantage of individuals and
I think the first
they're
thing
just laying the
we
property.
need to look at is the abandoned vacant property first, because as we come down to landlords, there's gonna be more vacant abandoned property, so we need to put that in place as the first step. And the second step, we need to move back into the registration process. It's pretty involved. Statutes limit us somewhat with that. Some landlords are exempt from that registration process by state statute.
I think it's something that we definitely need to at least look into, because we've been talking about it for a really long time and it's just gotten pushed along. I think that that's something where there's a lot of.
Yeah, there's a progress to it. I mean, this hoarding ordinance, if you look at the letters and the details there, is very time consuming. Frankly, becomes a learning curve for our enforcers, as well as, you know, getting feedback from Phil, make sure we're doing everything right. We can't go out and do 15 properties at a time. It's just, it doesn't work. It doesn't work. So once we get the system together and we start moving it in, and we start, and, you know, doing some fines and moving them to the next level, I think we'll see, hopefully, scare some people away. That's where we're at.
Well, I think that's part of it, is that we have to get something going, because if it's allowed to happen, it will continue to happen.
The first step was go through all the procedures on the hoarding ordinance. Second one is the vacant and abandoned building area. I think we're about 90%. Well, we're probably 98% ready to send that off to Phil for review. We've been working on that over the last month now. We want to get the hoarding ordinance. The next step is that work on another registration, and we do have registration. We discussed for Airbnbs and other things too. Where it's asking them for a lot more information than we know that we had. We don't ask for anything right now, but that the landlords information and phone numbers posted out front, that there's SNAP, that they had liability insurance that occurred on their taxes. All these things. So if you're going to be registered, and it doesn't matter if you're short-term or long-term, these would be things that everybody has to have. We don't know if there's liability insurance. We know if they pay their taxes or not, but that's about it. And if not, then it becomes a vacant property. So there's kind of a progression to make things happen. And I think combine those three ordinances, the one we've already passed, and the next two will take care of 90% of it. You'll still have bad actors, but I don't want to make it difficult for the bad actors to survive.
Do we have a goal as to when we want that done? Like by the end of the year, can we have something?
But we're going to present something to Phil next week.
But as far as like the landlords and different things with that, I mean, I
Yeah,
really, this is something that I feel really strongly about. So I feel like that if we have a timeline, then that kind of helps us to push things along fast. But I would like to.
we make progress on it every week, let's put it that way, but I do believe, I'll leave the timeline to Phil. Because it'll be up to him to review, but we'll have something percent on the vacant and abandoned property by next week. Okay. Well, I know part of the reason is too, with these ordinances, other cities have done it with mixed results. So we've also reached out, what has worked, what hasn't worked, what he's suggesting, even in your ordinances that didn't work. We had one we thought we liked, found out that there's a lot of things wrong with it, and started over. With one pulled from a southern Indiana community that had very good luck with it. I talked to their, called their planning director today and their mayor to ask for some feedback on what they would change on the plan. It was just improvements what we did. I've been in the community and I've seen what hasn't worked. What did. If we make
What's enforceable, what's not enforceable,
Yeah.
what's.
So it's a priority. It's above a lot of things. I got about 15 priorities right now. Streets paved and planning for next year's streets, which is. Parks plan, parks improvement plans, getting aggressive there. So hopefully you'll hear about some of that budget here. A lot of projects coming. Some people that may want to invest in Huntingburg here. Business, hotels, those type of things too. Those kind of conversations are kind of simultaneous that with. Some days I don't even know what that is.
All right, anything else?
You move to
I know you're in a hurry.
Second. I'm not in the other.
Motion to adjourn.